We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday. We have a guest that we hear from quite frequently. He's a favorite amongst the listeners. It is, of course, Will from Georgia. Will tends to come in hot. He
hmm
tends to be a little fired up, and I think we like to hear that out of him. But I will say this, Will, when you were talking about coming on this time, you said you're going to need a couple of weeks to recharge. So, what's up with that?
Yeah, so basically, I just said, I mean, the holidays are coming up, and I just want to kind of not really post anything, or no offense to you, don't talk to you for a little while, kind of get reset as January comes around. I mean, it's home. I got to, holidays. I want to concentrate on that, and also, I mean, the hosiery of fuckery, that we're dealing with, the fire hose of fuckery, is a lot, and you
Yeah.
just kind of look at it and go, "Oh, okay." And it's only so it's just it gets to the point at for me at this point is that I feel like I'm pissing in the wind half the time when I'm making a comment. Because I say my comment and everyone's kind of like, "Congratulations, you got 200 views," and it means people don't hear shit at this time.
But you
Um,
get more when you come here, though. You're getting more than 200 views when you come here.
that's one of the reasons I enjoy this because we get a little more reactions. But the point being is like, just sitting there, I'm going. I mean, there's nightmare scenarios in my mind right now. Horribly nightmare scenarios where our country's gone, or is going to go. And right now, he hasn't even become president, and the entire world hates us. They fucking hate us. They laugh at us. It is
I don't know if they
wrong.
hate us. I think they empathize with us. I think people are making fun and pushing back on Donald Trump, which I like to see. I mean, we can't have Donald Trump in the office of the presidency and expect to be respected around the world. That's just going to be a given. But it depends on how they look at it. If they suggest we are all fools, well, that's not the case. Um, we are a foolish country for reelecting him, certainly. But I think most animus is pointed at Donald Trump and not to the country of America.
But we have to, as Americans as a whole, we have to kind of take blame for it because
Yeah,
we let those people do what they did. We did not take care of business after January 6th. Um, the people thought it was going to be business as usual. No, we found out real quick what they found out in Germany, that if you don't put it down once, it comes back, and it's
right.
back, and it came back exactly, exact fucking way in like they did in Germany, exactly the same fucking way. The parallels are everywhere at this point, and you can't tell me no, because it's true. And even though the economy wasn't collapsing like it was in the time of Hitler's rise, but there was enough bullshit for people to think that the economy was collapsing. We're dealing with that, and that's where we ended up with the gullibles and basically the morons. Enough of them voting for Trump, and where we are. I mean, the irony is that Hakeem Jeffries made a good point. Like in North Carolina, all the state offices are going to be Democratic, but the legislators try to kill that. But that's a different discussion. But they voted for Trump. I mean, Missouri, the abortion thing won, which the Republicans had tried to kill, but they voted for Trump. So it leads us to the only thing left, that you all are a bunch of racist, misogynist assholes. And honestly, I hate you beyond belief. And I will say this right now, to this day I die.
Let me ask you this. I heard him say that too. Okay, these Democrats won, but they voted for Donald Trump. He did that one right after the other, and that
Mhm.
seems weird. That seems unlikely.
His
Some
point.
pe-
Go
some
ahead.
people
Sorry.
are suggesting though that that would be an indication of some funny business going on with the election. Now, I've always been the one that said, "Look, I'm not jumping on that train right now unless I see some evidence." But people
Right.
suggest that, maybe you get to January 6th, uh, they don't certify it. Now, I don't know that that's likely. I don't think it's likely, but why would these people say things this way, knowing that it would create some uncertainty with some of the conspiracy theory people?
Well, the conspiracy theory people are small. What he was reacting to, the question was, with Trump winning like he did, do you think they have a mandate to do whatever they want?
Right.
Democrats don't have a mandate. And his point was, yeah, Trump won, but look what was behind it. He did not get a mandate. And he was just laying out in his way, we know why she lost. You guys were still down with some Democrats. You're still down with rights, but you just couldn't pull the trigger for a black woman. Let's bottom line it. And so it
Absolutely.
was nothing to do with that. He was just trying to make it a point. No, this was not a landslide. This was not a fucking what's the word, mandate. He just got lucky against a woman again because the majority of Americans are stupid and still live back in the 17th, 18th century, considering my race, who are a bunch of stupid pendejos who couldn't vote for a woman, which pisses me off. I mean, it does. And now here you go. Here you go. I mean, the Time interview is just, first of all, I don't care about Time and the man of the year. Remember, Time put Adolf Hitler as the man of the year one time.
Right. It's
Remember
good or
that.
bad guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. And so I don't see that as one of the mainstream bullshit. They've done this before,
Yeah.
unpopular stuff. But the point is that in the interview, again, for him, the biggest thing is the immigration thing. And he's insisting he's going to use the military to move people out. He's got Army officers that's going to help him out. I want to see the Army officer is going to do that, betray his oath to the Constitution. I
Right.
really want to do that. I want to see that. And I know that people are saying, well, then he's going to declare a national emergency. For what? How? Let's see how that goes. I can't see the military not giving him pushback. I really can't see that.
No.
If he's got a few units, he's got to have basically um, some colonels or majors that are Temple-fucks ready to go for him. Maybe he's got a few troops. I don't know how it's going to work. It's
Well,
going to be a bitch.
I think no, it's not going to work. I mean, Donald Trump says a lot of stuff. He never accomplishes most of it. But if he attempts something that egregious, I think that gives the Republicans an excuse to impeach him, look good in the process, get somebody more malleable and JD Vance in there. But where the fuck is JD Vance? Have you even heard him say a
No, he's
word in the last
vanished.
month?
I mean,
Where is
maybe
he?
he went to the place that Pence was supposed to go after January 6th. That he wouldn't get into the Secret Service thing. Remember that, guys? Oh no, you
Yeah.
forgot. That doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore. Yeah, I mean, he's gone. He's not saying a word. You know why? Because I'll be honest. Let's all be straight on the board. The president of the United States right now is Elon Musk. Elon Musk and all the oligarchs. And I say this way: he paid for that $250
Yeah.
million investment, and he got what he wanted. And that's why all these insane ideas of removing the entire Veterans Administration out and not giving the vets anything is out there. That's why cutting Social Security is out there. And here's the thing that bugs me. And I was talking to my wife about this today. They want to do this for us to sacrifice to balance the budget. I looked at my wife and go, we've done it with a goal in mind to get
Yeah.
something else down the line. I mean, when we bought this house 3 years ago, we had to do certain things, and we pushed all our chips in and got it. So we had to sacrifice certain things, but we had a goal, and we got the goal. What's the
Right.
goal? They never say the goal. You know why they don't say the goal? The goal is to put money in their pockets, in the richest
Absolutely.
pockets, the billionaires' pockets. That's why Musk wants to get rid of the regulatory commission. That's why they now got a new FTC commissioner talking about woke. That's where you got all this. It's about putting money in their pockets. That's why Amazon gave him $1 million. I mean, Amazon gave him $1 million. Zuckerberg gave $1 million to the Trump inauguration. Why? Because that's their tithe.
And
That's part of the
based
deal.
on based on that, I've talked about this before that I got suspended or banned off of Facebook, and I
Yeah, I
don't really
remember
care
that.
because that was kind of a secondary thing to me. I just put it on there because it was there. But what bothered me more was when I found out Zuckerberg gave $1 million to Donald
Yeah,
Trump for the inauguration, and then Bezos gave him $1 million. I won't use those services ever again. I just won't, because they have acknowledged that they support a rapist, a treasonist, a terrorist, a criminal, a thief. somebody who's trying to overthrow the government, there's no going back from that. Once you've supported that, you become an accessory after the fact.
Yeah. The hardest, and I say this, I'm not like the progressives and liberals. I don't care if you make money. I mean, that's part of American dream. Make all your fucking money you want. The problem with these people like Musk and go back to the older days, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, is that there was never enough money. It was about controlling it all,
Right,
taking it all, keeping it all for
right.
yourself. I mean, that's the problem. Is that um, thinking is back, and it's sad to think. It's just insane, and it brings us again to the reaction to the murder of the CEO of the United Health
Right.
CEO. So why? Because I'm seeing this right now. The press is out of their fucking minds trying to make this as a political thing, left thing, radicals, this. I mean, I saw something in the View. They're saying, well, we're not saying, well, we shouldn't murder people in the street. Josh Shapiro, by the way, you ended your presidential bid, asshole, in Pennsylvania by saying that we have never brutally murdered anyone in the street. And someone did a great video of and put a picture of Emmett Till up.
Yeah.
That ends that shit. The point was the reason we actually don't care is because we know who he was and what he did. There is an article, I think, maybe in the Washington Post by Brett Stevens, saying that guy was a true working man, not the rest of us. Are
Um,
you out of your motherfucking mind thinking you're going to sell us that? And the biggest problem right now, and what we're finding, is that you made a video on the Ben Shapiro thing, and I saw that where he put out his thing, and the comments went against him, left and
yeah.
right, because what the rich what the very rich do not want the conversation is about class. Once you start about class, it doesn't mean about politics. I don't care what your political view, you don't care my political view. We all know that we're getting fucked by the one person.
Yeah.
And that's how revolutions start. And that's how, and one person, horribly fucking naive dude, put up a video here and said, hey, he was wrong. We should have gotten together. We can protest and voices. No one hears us. They don't hear us. They haven't heard us. They laugh at us. They're not laughing now. No,
No.
they're not laughing now because now everything's exposed. In your video about the 42% or 48% with the rejections, mother of God. And that's the thing, the scrutiny is on. The scrutiny is on.
Well,
And that's the thing. Good.
don't you think this whole shooting thing, well, in realistic terms, it's sexy, salacious, and all that stuff. It's a pretty small news story. One guy shoots one man in New York City. He happens to be a CEO of a corporation. The actual event was small, but
Mhm.
what it represented was huge. And I have a feeling it kind of opened up a Pandora's box. Like you
Right.
said, it starts revolutions. Here's the thing. People will discount this guy shooting this guy in the street. Oh, we don't do that. That's not what we do. The fact of the matter is, it's not about what's right or wrong. It's about human nature. And
Exactly.
human nature, when you've been oppressed and hurt and people in your family are dying, people will say, well, there's a process to that. Well, the only other process is to take them to court. And if you've ever taken a multi-billion-dollar company to court, you know you're going to lose and be broke when it's done. So that option isn't there. There comes a point where people are in desperation mode. They're being pushed against the wall. They're fucking dying, and there is no help. Nobody helps them from the media. Nobody helps them from the government. These people are allowed to do anything they want, and it's costing you lives and money and your livelihoods. What the fuck do you think is going to happen when you back somebody up into the corner? All bets are off. And while it's not right to shoot somebody in the street, unfortunately, that's their only fucking option. And the reason that's their only option is because those motherfuckers put us there.
Exactly. And you're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. I know I could see it. I hear it. I thought the funniest thing, a clip I saw was Jesse Waters talking about he's got to be careful on Rikers. No, dude, you don't get it. This is not a guy, a short eyes guy who's done something horrible. That man's a fucking hero. He walked into Rikers protected. Fuck, I'll probably make sure guards probably protect him. Everyone protected. You know why? He's a fucking king among them. Because he kept the man. They love that man. He's protected. Anyone that threatens him is in trouble. You see, that's the thing. They don't get it. They don't want to get, and they're trying to change the narrative as fast as they can, because the narrative, if then they're losing the narrative. I mean, there was some, who was it, said that Nancy Pelosi set this guy out to kill the CEO. That died on the vine because all looked at him going, "What the fuck?"
That's silly.
Ben Shapiro's shit died on the vine because it's affected all of us. And the problem you see right now is that it's all, the narrative is starting to shift even before President Trump becomes president. And he's trying his fucking hardest to change it, but he can't do it. And
No.
one thing, I mean, and one thing I want to back up on one quick thing, because I saw a video and I couldn't believe this guy actually suggested this. So he's a progressive, far left, blah, blah. He started blaming the Democrats for everything. Democrats this, Democrats this. They need to stop Trump. They should have stopped him before. Okay, well, I mean, the election's overdue. We can't do anything. His thing goes, you know what you need to do? Biden should just declare martial law, arrest everybody, and say he's going to stay president. Okay, dude. And I said, oh, you mean like Trump tried to do on January 6th? We're going to do the same thing. That's not going to work. You know why? Because all the Trump fucks will feel like martyrs. He'll become a martyr. He'll become bigger. No, the best thing that's happening right now, and we're all going to eat this shit sandwich together, is to watch the gullible assholes see all their dreams fall apart, starting with the fucking prices of eggs. You dumbasses. He conned you.
Sometimes they say that you got to burn down the forest to make it grow back bigger. And I've said this before. Maybe we just sit and let them burn it down, and people say, no, everybody will get hurt. Yeah, everybody's going to get hurt. We put ourselves in this situation.
Yep.
When I say let it burn down, what are our options at this point?
None.
Let him do the fucked up thing. The best thing we can do is protect ourselves and point out the failures and treat those fuckers like they treated us. You know, people will come to me. People will come to me and they'll say, "Oh, you shouldn't support this guy shooting the guy in the street." I don't support somebody shooting a guy in the street, but I understand human nature. And when you're cornered and you have no options, there are going to be outbreaks or outbursts like this. But if you're going to tell me I need to cry for this CEO, where were the tears for the thousands of elderly people, infants, family members that die every year because these fuckers want to make an extra $1 billion? There's no tears for them. And that's the problem. Nobody talks about them. We talk about this one fucking clown who sounds like he was a piece of shit anyway, and he gets shot down in the street. I'm not a proponent of violence, but you get what you ask for. If you give nobody any other options, the worst is going to happen.
And there was one comment. Some guy made a video comment and goes, what about his two teenage sons? And it's that same day that he was gunned down in New York. That day, later that evening, 17, 8-year-old boys were stabbed, one to death in New York because 3 white guys walked up and, do you speak English? No, stabbed them. Yep. I haven't heard a motherfucking thing from the mayor of New York about that.
No.
Not a goddamn thing. I heard the mayor of New York saying, hey, come on, ICE, come on in, pick all these people up. I'd like to see you get into the Bronx for that, dude. That's going to be fun to watch. But not one fucking word about that. No, just this fucking manhunt because the rich are scared. The rich are scared. Then they should.
The tide is turning, yeah.
And it's going to, and here's the thing that now brings us on. Everybody's kind of connected. You see everything going up. The tariffs, which are a joke. He still believes that the countries will pay them the tariffs. He literally thinks he's a mob boss. You're going to give me a piece. You give me a piece and I'll let you do business. He literally thinks that still. He's insulted the Canadians. He's insulted the Mexicans. He's insulted the Canadians. How the fuck do you insult a Canadian to the point they get pissed? I didn't think that was fucking possible. And he, to the point where the Prime Minister of Ontario is saying, hell, keep it up, we'll just shut off the oil and the gas.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that Mr. Global, and if you've seen his videos on the oil industry, this guy is tied in. He was kind of like what you saw on the new show. He was a landman. He did oil research. He's done all this.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, okay, that'd be great. Let me show you what happens if you do that." And he put up a map, and he showed Montana, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Minnesota. He goes, each one of these states get all their natural gas from Canada. You shut that off, it's cold and black.
Yeah.
And in the middle of winter.
Well,
And
we
he's
get
saying,
60% of our crude oil from there too.
Exactly.
You take 60% out of the equation, that's a fucking problem for the whole country.
And he goes, this is the product when you have a man who does not know how the fuck things work. That's the problem we have right now. You have a man and followers. First of all, the rich know how it works. They're just trying to squeeze everything they can out of him for themselves. Yeah. But there's really people that work for him and have no fucking idea how the economies of the world are connected. It's like everyone forgot NAFTA existed.
Yeah.
I mean, and the point, he was talking to whatever, that Kirsten, that interview was ridiculous. It was ridiculous because they never asked, they never pushed, they never pushed back. They never brought it. Nothing. Same bullshit that we dealt with through the campaign. But they said, you want to make Canada a state or annex Mexico. And he said, why not? We've been subsidizing them for decades, billions. How? What? He doesn't know that's not subsidies. That's called trade. We trade with countries. We trade goods back and forth, and it doesn't go through the government, you dumbass. It goes through companies. It's all private trade. It's like the ignorance is so huge, and we're going to be stuck with it because a bunch of dumb brick motherfuckers were gullible to buy this.
You have to understand the attitude of this guy. You mentioned that he's like a mob boss, and that's really what it's about. It's about ego. He thinks he's the most powerful guy. So he thinks Mexico and Canada are lesser countries. So they should be on bended knee for Donald Trump, paying tribute to the mob boss, and the mob boss just taking and not giving. That's what he really thinks. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. Donald Trump is a dumb man. I don't care what anybody says. I could point out how stupid that fucker is over any conversation he has or any speech he gives, but that's what he thinks. Unfortunately for him, I think there are Republicans in the Senate and the House that realize how devastating that's going to be. Can you imagine a representative from Minnesota or Montana who sides with putting tariffs on Canada and then having their gas shut off and their electricity shut off? They'd be fucking crucified.
Yeah, but I'm hoping some of them are weird. Some are so power hungry they don't see the forest for the trees. My solution for what Mexico and Canada should do, because let's be honest, the man has threatened war on these countries. Yeah. You say annex Canada. How do you do that? Oh, that means you got to take it. Soft invasion of Mexico. See, these are threats of war. My personal thought is that, hey, on January 21st, the Mexican government seals the border. The Canadian government seals the border. They don't let any Americans in. They vacate the American embassies in Ottawa and Mexico City. They tell all Americans, everything, just shut it all off. They tell every American in their countries, you have 3 days to get the fuck out or you're going to be arrested as an enemy combatant. In other words, and then pull your military up. See, because he's a bully. He's doing this because he thinks that they're going to react to him in fear. No, right. Show them, the might of the American military. Okay, do you want to cost it? Let's do it. Because the point is, the military doesn't want to fight that. We don't have the men and the firepower. Unless you want to bomb them out of existence, how's that going to work? And
The rest of the
that's
world might have something to say about that.
yeah, because last time I checked, the Mexicans are really tight with the Russians and the Chinese. You know why? They have Pentex. They have oil. The Canadians have oil. So they this unbelievable egocentric view of the world is going to cost everyone a lot. And that's what we're kind of stuck with right now. And what can we do? Honestly, we're going to have to ride this motherfucker off and hope that he does something so egregious that people actually believe it. And then the mass media has to actually believe and say something truthful because they ain't said a goddamn thing about this in the last few months. They have
No.
been the worst, and that's why they're losing viewers.
Well,
Um,
sometimes I think the faster it burns down, the faster we get through this thing. And that sounds like a horrible thing, but when you've got no choice, you've got to take the lesser of the evils. We could string this thing out and we could hold Donald Trump's hand and let him do little things here and there and wherever. And then we suffer for 4 years, or he does something so stupid from the beginning. And then the Republicans have to say, we got to get rid of them and let
but
the Republicans deal with them.
but you can't trust the Republicans. And I'll say this: on the state
No,
levels in Texas, Missouri, South Carolina, all these with major with super majority of Republicans that people voted in, they are going out of their minds. Texas is
yeah,
doing whatever he fucking wants. Um, North Carolina, the legislature, knowing that they're going to have state government run by Democrats, are trying to literally break the three branches of government that is the basis for all constitutions. They think that's a good thing. I'm
yeah,
hoping that's going to get bounced in court because you can't do that. I mean, that's the base. I had one person said, "Well, what is?" I thought it was ridiculous. He goes, "Well, what does the Constitution say about your voting and your franchisement mean anything?" Oh, really? The Constitution is about voting anyway, you dumbasses. There are rules and
yeah,
constitutions for that. And secondly, three branches of government designed to check each other so none is over the other and you have an efficient government. And in the, in South Carolina, they have a bill to make abortion murder. Here we go. These guys are out of their fucking minds, and you gave them the power. And so don't complain to me. And I say this, I see this all around. Well, you see what they're doing. I don't care. You voted for it. I'm in the same fucking boat nationally, even in Georgia. I'm in the same boat. I'm glad. The only thing I'm glad about Georgia is they got business here. And they really don't want to piss people off too much in business. So they're not as crazy and psychotic as they are. They have an abortion problem, but they're not totally crazy and psychotic because they kind of like the money. You're in
yeah,
Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri, they have no money. They have no fucking industry. They're fucking draining the federal government. And so they're going to date in order to keep power, they have to pick on everyone else. The
yeah.
trans, women's rights, immigrants. That's all they got. And I know I'm kind of hoping Republicans are going to do the right thing, but the Republicans don't do the right thing. They're about
Right.
power. And that's concerning because what they may just literally wait to see what happens. And by the time everyone's off the cliff, it's too late. We're totally fucked. And then and then everything goes crazy because California's not putting with it. Washington's not putting with it. Oregon, Illinois, New York, they may say, fuck this. We're out of here. Then what? Then it's broken. And that's the thing. It's so absolutely egregious and insane that I could not write a book like that without getting the editor going, man, that's too much. Oh, that could never happen in real life. Oh, hell
Yeah.
no. Really? I mean, and I don't know what the goal is in this. Is his narcissism, is this insanity that deep that it
There is
doesn't
no
matter?
goal. There is no goal. I think if anybody believes that Donald Trump has a particular strategy, you're fooling yourself. I know how these personalities act. They just say whatever comes out of their ass and comes out of their mouth. And all they do is double down and triple down. So they'll make a threat. If that doesn't work, they'll make a bigger threat, and then they'll make a bigger threat. And they don't really have any strategy or plans for implementing these things. That's the one thing I will say about Donald Trump. He can talk a good game, but he's very It's very difficult for him to actually accomplish most of the things he says. The whole tariff thing, I got to believe that Congress is going to have a problem with that. He may be able to implement it temporarily, and it's going to go south very quickly. I mean, if Canada cuts off oil to the United States, Congress is going to come together within the first 30 days and say, fuck that. We're not doing this.
I mean, and that's it's just that his people around him are fucking evil. I mean, let's blonde it. There really are evil people. No
They are
empathy.
evil, but they're also incompetent. They don't see that's one of the problems Donald Trump
I
had
hope.
when he became president that Joe Biden had over him. Regardless of who you are, how powerful you think you are, the government is a big machine. It's a system. And if you don't know how to run the system, you will fail. Joe knew very well how to run the system. That's why he was effective while he was president. Donald Trump, that's why he floundered, because he didn't know what he was doing. He thought everybody should react to him, and government's bigger than him. Government's bigger than these clowns he wants to put in the cabinet. As much as people want to be fearful about everything that Donald Trump says, he's not going to be able to pull off most of it, or he'll, like we saw what he tried to do in Mexico. He was saying, I'm going to put tariffs on Mexico. He goes down to Mexico, talks to President Scheinbaum. He comes back and said, well, I talked to President Scheinbaum. Everything's pretty cool. She's going to do everything I said. She's obviously scared of me. So we're good. And at that point, he would have probably said, we don't need the tariffs because President Scheinbaum said she's going to do what she's going to do. But she didn't do that. She came back and said, listen, that's bullshit. Nothing has changed. Donald Trump doesn't care if something's really good or if something really gets done. All he cares about is what it looks like. And that's how he does things.
And I just read they had we were you and I you remember the fire in Notre Dame,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
huge fire, and it's taken them literally what close to a decade to rebuild the cathedral. It was a long time ago. And they had the opening ceremony of it. Trump showed up, and everyone and I go, well, okay, who invited him? He wasn't invited. He just fucking showed up, and like the French are going, what the hell? Where did this come from? He showed up. He's not welcome in Europe. He
No.
is not welcome in Europe outside of Hungary. They don't want him around because they know he's a fucking cancer.
He probably walked
And
in there and said, where does the football team play?
I mean, this ceremony, I saw part of it. I mean, it was beautiful, but he's there and he taints everything that he's there with. It's all wrong. And that's
Did
the
you,
thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, did you see that he invited President Xi to the inauguration? And Xi said, nah, I'm busy.
Why would you don't invite? See, that's the thing. An inauguration should be showing that we have a peaceful transfer of power after election. We didn't have one in 2020. We saw what happened, and he got away with it. Now he's coming here, and Joe Biden. I swear to God, I just wish he would just not show up at that, and just walk and just leave at noon. I really wish he would.
He'll
I know
show
he's
up.
not that way, but I just don't because it's. I mean, he doesn't owe anyone. His own party's pissing on him. He doesn't owe anyone
Yeah.
anything. And I swear to Almighty God, shut up. He can pardon who he wants. He's the goddamn president. And I'll say this about Trump. I don't care. Pardon all the January 6 people. Like you said, good luck getting a job. Oh, it's the application. Oh, I see you were convicted, but you were pardoned for trying to take over the government. Yeah, we'll get back to you. I mean, come on.
Try to get a date for that matter.
Oh man, someone did a thing about it's like this weird thing. What are red flags for women? And all of them were Republican, MAGA, and I forgot what it is. And there's like two guys standing there going, "Yeah, you ain't getting dates." You know, women, and that's the thing. It's it's a societal thing right now to watch these guys flounder. Now I'm watching them flounder now because they're starting to get pissed. You know why they're starting to get pissed? Because we know you've been conned, and we're smiling at you and we're laughing at you. Well, I mean, what are you gonna do? No, we're not gonna do anything. We're gonna just watch. And also, well, you're in the crossface. Yeah, you put us there, but I'm still going to laugh at your ass
We're
because
we're
you're
we're
going to
go-
take the pain too.
we're going to watch you burn down. Like I told Brian when I did that interview with him,
Uh-huh.
I said, "Here's the deal. I'm an old man. I'm retired. Nothing much is going to happen to me. You've got a young family. You've got young kids. You're going to burn down. You are going to struggle and suffer. And here's the thing. This may sound insensitive, but I'm going to giggle my fucking ass off at you. And your kids are going to suffer, and that's a sad thing. But I can't help it. You did this to yourself."
And that's the thing. We can't. And what I'm seeing right now from a lot of the media, or at least the left wing media, I hate using left wing, but maybe the more journalistic part, Aaron Parsons and Midas Touch,
Aaron Parnos, yeah,
Parsons, is that they're starting to come up out of the ground, and they're coming up hot. I
yeah.
think it was the biggest thing for all of us was that was a fucking gut punch. And it wasn't because Trump won, it's because we did not think that the stink and rot of racism and misogyny and just downright stupidity was that deep in the American psyche. And
I had
that,
no
and no, I
idea.
didn't, and no idea. That's one side. But the other side, I did not think the progressive wing of the party was that callous and cold and not, and actually absolutely clueless in how the world works to do that. So we all kind of went, okay, because I could see it. I mean, I saw some, little bits of Brian Tyler Collins once afterwards. Man, he was in a sweatshirt. He was just like, dude, I mean, he was like devastated. Now he's back to wearing a suit
Yeah.
because he's decided, oh, fuck this. If we're going down, we're all going to go. We're going to do this hardcore. Because the point is, they were counting on us going away. That's why afterwards they say, hey, you want to come, let's unify. We won, and we all looked at him going, no. And that started that. I think the first time when they all came back and say we need to unify, Trump won, everything will be okay. The one thing I think that solidified a lot of people was the Morning Joe trip to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And Morning Joe had said, hey, we take our lumps, we're going to fight him still because we know what he's going to do. Their ratings would be through the roof. They would probably
Yeah.
bigger than Fox News. But they decided to take the easy route. And they went and kissed the ring of Donald Trump to protect themselves. And all of us looked over there and said, oh, this is the way it's going to be. So when these MAGA fucks said, hey, no, no hard feelings, we all looked at them, oh, yeah, oh, hard feelings forever. And we're going to laugh. And now it's coming to fruition. Now they're pissed. Now they're angry. They're back being mad at us. You know why you're back being mad at us? Because we're sitting there going, told you so. Told you
Yeah.
so. Isn't that funny? Wow. Eggs are going to be higher than before. You
Well,
can't get anything. Oh, that's so
here's the
bad.
thing.
Neither can you. Yeah,
Well,
I knew that. But
when we're talking
I
about
voted against it.
when we're talking about the media and we're talking about corporations like United Health and stuff, they're so used to controlling everything. They will come out and they will try to gaslight us again and try to
Oh, yeah.
manipulate us into agreeing with them. That's what Joe and Mika did. They went down there and they never thought it would blow back on them. So they came back to school us and tell us, yeah, we did it, but here's why we did it, trying to get us to bend a little more their way. And when people said, fuck that, they didn't know what to do. When United Health says, they killed our CEO and we find out that they have a 40% fucking denial rate, everybody's pushing back. They try too hard to manipulate us, and we've kind of gone beyond the pale,
Right.
and we see it now. And once you see it, it never goes away. That's never going to go away for United Health. We know what they've done. We know what they do. And they have trouble going on in the future. They may be the biggest health organization in the world, but that's going to be a problem because right now everybody's choosing their health care. Who's going to take United Health?
I wouldn't touch them.
Nobody.
I mean,
Nobody's going to
my
touch them.
company was United Health 2 years ago. It was kind of weird. I go, why do we go to Cigna? And they changed it. Oh, I guess I found out why. Warren Buffett is a brighter man than I thought. And so, but the thing about it is that we have to understand one thing. The reason, like the big CEO, the one who's the umbrella CEO of all the
Right.
companies, basically said, and I like how stuff is getting leaked. There's a lot of people working in United Health don't like this. I like how it's being leaked. Said that, hey, he said, don't worry about it. Ignore them. They don't know how it's going. We're going to keep doing the smart thing to make money. Because the one thing they do know, there is no one for us to really go to, and the government's going to help them. There's no one. If this happened and Kamala Harris had been elected, there would have been an outcry, and that was wrong. But I'll guarantee you, in the next Congress, if it been Democratic, there would have been hearings about denials. There would have been legislation about streamlining appeal processes for people who have insurance. There would have been consequences that way. The problem is there will be no consequences that way, other than we need to get this guy, we need to shut everybody up. What happens there? Then people think, okay, what's our choice left?
Right. No choice.
What it is wanted posters in New York of other CEOs. That's what happens when you think you're going to crush that. Ain't happening.
Yeah. You can't crush the entire country. And, that's what I've said before. People have to get through their minds. Something that I've said before, I said, this isn't a war against Democrats versus Republicans. Those are just clubs.
Exactly.
This is a war against us versus them, because Democrats are culpable too in taking advantage of us.
Oh, hell yes.
Stealing from our pocketbooks. It is about us versus them. It's about big corporations who support Democrats and Republicans, and they get away with it because those politicians allow them to do it. Once the information is out there, once we voice our anger, and once we do the things we can do, that's when changes happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Democratic Party better make a lot of fucking changes, because the Republicans are a shit option. The Democrats are a shit option. Maybe this is a time when a third party could actually come up.
I don't want to talk about third party yet, because we have to fix what we have right now within the system.
Can we, though?
Third parties. Well, here's the thing. Of all the Democrats that I've heard talk about the situation with the execution of the CEO, the only one that actually mimicked I've been hearing with everyone is AOC.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't condone that, but, and then she rattled off all the stuff that we're talking about. So there are people within the Democratic Party that know that we need to stand up and start to shout. The problem is the leadership is still fucking old. The leadership is still set in these fucked up ways that we can do business as usual. They don't see it. And until there's a way of getting rid of it, I don't know what to do, because that's the problem. Third party, to me, it's a pipe dream, because it's just going to fall under the wheels of the bigger parties.
I'm not suggesting that the third party can take over any kind of control in the next 2 to 4 years, but down the road, that has to be considered. If we've got two parties that isn't doing the bidding of the people, we've got to find some other options. Now, you can't do that quickly, but you can start a process.
I mean, it may come. I mean,
put it this way. If you have a third party, and maybe the goal isn't to get the third party to win presidential elections, but if you can get a halfway strong third party to take a bite out of the Republicans or the Democrats, that will force them to make some changes within their own parties.
Yeah, locals. I mean, there's got to be. I mean, I think a lot of us many people are still navigating this mess. Some people, unfortunately, older ones are thinking everything will be okay. It'll go back to what it was 4 years. No. This is a big, ugly thing that's been unleashed, and we don't know how it's going to land. We don't. And when it does, because there's pieces of it that we're seeing, and I don't know how far they're going to go. I mean, the whole thing with the Department of Justice and the FBI. I mean, is it going to? Are they going to turn it into Trump's Gestapo? Or are they still going to be what the Department of Justice has been, independent? We don't know. I'm hoping it's not Gestapo, but I don't know. It's a hard thing we look at because the people behind Trump, a lot of them are really hardcore fascist, and it's scary because
Yeah.
they think they can get away with it. Stephen Miller being the worst, and I'm hoping that the Constitution stands enough where people. The hardest thing for Democrats right now is not to go no. Is not to go no compromise, no compromise, no, no. I'm not no. Hesketh is not getting my vote. No, Cash Patel. No, I'm holding that up. No, no, you're not getting rid of the Department of Education because it doesn't matter what you're doing is fucking special needs kids.
Yeah.
No. And the thing about it, the the biggest statement I remember that I think that pissed a lot of people off, ended the Morning Joe crew, was that first statement back is that we're going to find a middle ground for compromise. Compromise with what? You don't compromise with fascists. What you give them an inch, they take your whole body. It
Right.
doesn't work like that. And don't 1984 us. Don't do that. This is not newspeak. Don't gaslight me. Don't ignorance is knowledge bullshit me. No, that's what you're trying to do. And it's, be honest, right now, it's failing. A lot of people ain't buying this shit. And the only network that's keeping its share of audience is Fox. But that's not going up.
And it's not, and they're not going to hold on to it either when things
No.
start failing. Here's the thing: everybody talks about compromise, but if on one end of the spectrum you have wrong and you have
Yep.
right on the other end of the spectrum, there is no compromise.
Don't compromise with what? See, the thing about it is that you compromise on a difference on a proposal for a bill. People want to do it one way, you want to do another, and you find a middle that no one likes. But you can't compromise on hate. You can't
Right.
compromise on idiocy. You can't compromise on those things. You can't compromise on morally unmoral stuff. And that's the thing when they're talking about Democrats' new voice. What's the new voice?
Yeah.
What? To hate them more than they do? See, that's the thing. There is no political compromise because this isn't political. It's who you are inside. Are you a good
Right.
person? Are you ethical? Do you have empathy for the others? Or are you like a lot of MAGA? I hate everybody. I hate these people. I hate these people. You never met them. Yeah, well, I hate them anyway because they're not me. How the fuck do you compromise on that? You don't. What you do is you fight it, and hopefully your side wins this time. And then basically, I'll be honest, you force them to capitulate with the rules. You don't like it, tough, but we're going to make you like it because it'll be
Right.
better for you in the end and your children. Now, maybe that's a wrong thing to say, but shit, I don't know what else to do with these guys. Not educate them. I'm ready to just take them, put a collar on them and hey, sit there, doggy, shut up, because you're just a rabid animal, and we have
You
to figure
mentioned
something out.
something. You mentioned something, and I mentioned the same thing. And a couple of people have come to me and said, "Now you're wrong about that," and that is we need to get the old people out of this. People said, "Well, they've got a lot of experience. They've got a lot of knowledge." Now, here's the problem with the older people: the Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's,
Oh
and
God,
whoever.
yes.
Here's the thing: they're playing by 1990s rules, where there are norms and rules. The fact of the matter is, by way of what the Republicans have done, there are no more norms. There are no more rules. If we play inside the rules and they don't,
Mhm.
we fucking lose. So we got to take their lead and take advantage, just like they're taking advantage, so that we can compete with them and actually beat them. And these older people are caught in the way politics used to be. Maybe I wish it was like that, but it's not. So we've got to fight properly and be competition for these fucks. And as long as, I mean, I'll even say this about Joe Biden. If we had a younger president in there with more knowledge about the way it is as opposed to the way it was, he might have been a lot tougher on the Donald Trumps and the Merrick Garlands and all this shit than
Right.
Joe has. Joe's living in a different parallel universe. And I'm not talking shit about Joe. Joe's an older man. He's lived through a lot of eras, and this era is not his era, and it's not Pelosi's era, and it's not
Right.
Schumer's era. It's none of these fuckers' era. We got to get somebody who can fight under current situations.
I mean, he's realizing it now. I mean, he's commenting
I
on
think
Merrick
so.
Garland, and he's like looking at his shit.
A little
But the
late.
other thing, yeah, but I think we had someone like that. You know, unfortunately, she was a woman in black.
Yeah.
If we had someone like Kamala Harris, who probably was white and male, this would have been a different cat. And then I listened to her. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I know a lot of people of color are going to go, well, no. Let's face the facts, guys. That's the truth. They didn't trust. I mean, they trusted Joe Biden enough to vote for him, and he was old. Would they have done it again? Yeah, probably. But I think that's the problem. And Democrats are so afraid of people getting mad at them. Who's going to get mad at you? See, Republicans don't give a fuck. Go ahead, call me names. I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. Hell, I mean, half of them are fucking criminals. I mean, they don't care. The people that, and that's the thing with Democrats, stop it. Don't, I mean, have some balls. Just say, fuck it. I mean, that's why I love Jasmine Crockett. My God, I mean, literally, if she was a man, she's not, but she's more man than half the Democrats in that fucking house because
But
she doesn't give a fuck.
we got her in the house, and then we have this Jared Moskowitz,
Oh,
who
he's nasty.
seemed to be like a bulldog, and everybody loved him because he was sharp tongue and he was able to push these people back in his place. But the moment Donald Trump becomes the president elect, he seems to back off. He seems to bend over. That is troublesome. That is cowardly.
I don't. Yeah, I've seen it. I don't know what the problem is. They don't want to. They don't want to fight. What are you
No.
afraid of? Going to jail? I mean, it's not going to matter if they go. Look, let me put it this way: to all those press people, and that's one of the reasons why they bent the knee because they're afraid of going to jail. Worst case scenario, if it really happens, you're going to jail anyway.
Yeah.
They're going to figure something out. Trust me, every one of these type of fascist things that come up, those people disappear. You want a great example? Russian after the Russian Revolution, rise of Stalin. I mean, he had his NKVD guy for decades. Then one night, he didn't want him, and he vanished.
Right.
This shit happens, and for you guys just to think everything's going to be okay, it's not. If you lay there and do nothing, it's not. If there's a bill in there that says we're getting rid of Social Security and veterans benefits, and you want to compromise and saying, oh, fuck no, there's something wrong with you. And that's where it comes back to us. We all have to change the narrative ourselves. And the biggest problem we have is that the amount of money pushing down is huge. A lot of those guys, too, may be responding because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Musk, all these people, all these oligarchs, that's a lot of money flowing. And I had made a comment. I don't know if you ever seen this show. It was on Netflix back in 2019. It was a Korean um, import called Squid Game.
Oh,
Um,
parts of it. I couldn't comprehend it, so I didn't watch
yeah.
it.
So what Squid Game was is that these people, the Koreans have done a couple movies on class, Parasite, unbelievable movie about class and the working poor in Korea. Squid Game was kind of like that. What it was, you followed this guy who was just absolutely down his luck, can't buy a break, can't hold a job. He's trying. He really is. He's trying to hold for his daughter. He's lost his daughter to his wife who married a rich guy. It's a mess. She's moving her to, she married an American, so she's moving to California. He's not going to see her. It's a mess. He lives with his mom. He's trying. Is he somewhat? He bets. Is he somewhat of Yeah, he's a little bit of a lost soul. And he meets a guy in a subway who gives him an opportunity to be part of this game where a bunch of these contestants come in. There are hundreds of them come into this. And then the idea is, hey, you're going to go through these games, and if you're eliminated, you're out. But if you survive, there's this huge pot of money. And they show it. It's like a big piggy bank, and every once someone's eliminated, they put money in it. So they see it up there in their dorm room.
Yeah.
The problem is that everyone thinks it's a game. The first game is a sick version of red light, green light, where this doll stands there and turns away from it, and you have to come up. You have a certain time limit to get beyond the doll. So when you turn back, you have to freeze. The only problem is if you move, you're not just eliminated, you're eliminated. Literally,
Right.
bullets start to fly. And it's that that desperation that people at one point people vote to leave. You can leave all you want if you get a majority vote to leave. 2 days later, they're back because they're back to their life. They're so
Right.
desperate that they're willing to risk their lives. And the point is, to an extent, Trump conned these people thinking there's this big bucket of money if you trust me. But
Right.
no. So what he's done is basically took that from them, and it's going to be a process of elimination. And you don't, these people don't get it. This is your life. You literally could be without food. You literally could be without heat, no job, no resources to go to because they're going to take it all away so the rich can benefit. And the sick thing about this whole show is the reason it was developed, that game, is because so the ultra rich can bet on something other than horses. So they bet on people who can win. There's this, you see that there's a scene, and they're all fucking Americans. There's all the entire thing is in Korean. You can do the subtitles, but till the American billionaire showed up and he only speak English. And you sit there and I go, yeah. And the sad thing about when I first watched that show, the first thing I thought was, yeah, that tracks. And the point is, literally, they pit people against each other by causing shortages. They make people fight each other for limited resources. And that's what they're going to do to us. They literally are trying to turn America into a Squid Game because we'll fight for everything. If there's nothing left, we'll fight each other instead of looking at the people who are fucking us. And they'll cheat. They're cheating now. And we can't, and the only bright light was that one man acting on his own, showing that this is what the rich people are doing. And that scares them. That's why
Yeah.
the gaslighting is hard. That's why everything, because they don't want this to be about class. We've been talking about politics. The problem with the politicians, they don't want you to know it's class.
Yeah.
Very few people do, but the Jared Moskowitz is class. The Josh Shapiro know it's class. They're trying to protect themselves. The line, going back to the line of Mel Brooks in Blazing Saddles, we have to protect our phony baloney jobs, guys, because that's
Well,
what
maybe
matters
that,
is the money.
and maybe that's the thing we have to be talking about going forward. We talk a lot about politics, and maybe we're not reaching up high enough. I'll give you an example with this CEO that gets shot down, and then the information comes out that 32% or 40% United Health denies in claims. How come
Mhm.
we didn't know this before? Couldn't we have Googled that? Couldn't we
Right.
have figured that out? But we didn't know about it. And now people see it and they're upset about it. So maybe people like us need to talk about the class part of it as much as the politics. You know, what is Jeffrey Bezos from Amazon is
Mhm.
giving Donald Trump $1 million or
Mhm.
whatever he's giving him. And the fact of the matter is, Jeffrey Bezos is giving that $1 million. So is Elon Musk. They're working against this country because Donald Trump is working against this country.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's got to go something further than cancel culture. We've got to
Yeah,
expose
this.
these people for who they are.
Yeah, and I think the hardest thing we is that to an extent, it's like if you're in. I mean, you put an animal in a cage long enough, and you open the door, they really don't want to go out because they're not
Yeah.
familiar with the outside. I mean, that's that line from The Green Mile. what Morgan Freeman's character goes, I don't know how to live on the outside. I've been on a
Yeah.
cage for so long. I don't know what to do.
Right.
Um, his freedom doesn't matter because he doesn't know how to be free. And we've been conditioned to kind of accept this is what they do. We have to verify it, or we accept my family's fucked.
Right.
And that's we have to look at that to ourselves. We easily accept what these people tell us to accept. My wife bugs the fuck out of me because I'll talk to someone about something and she says, why didn't you ask this? Why didn't you ask that question? These are legitimate questions. She's right. I don't want to ask the question because I don't want to deal with it. She's
Yeah.
right. I am totally fucking wrong. And that's the thing. We don't want to ask these questions and deal with it. We kind of accept the letter. We kind of accept we can't fight it. We kind of accept, okay, then that's what's going to happen. But all of a sudden, someone does not accept it. And then all of a sudden, we look at that information and going, oh, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. There's more of me, more of what I've gone through together. And that's the thing that the mass media and all these rich folk don't get. We are realizing whether we Republican or Democrat, MAGA or not, we kind of look at it and go, oh, yeah, I've got a story too. Yeah, they did that to me too. What happened? Oh, I'm sorry, you lost your mind because they did what? We're starting to, people started to talk like that. And that's scary because then everyone starts to go, yeah, we have something in common.
Yeah.
We have something in common. And what is that? Those people trying to fuck us. What are we going to do about it? Because the thing about it is, I want to talk about policy again. I want to talk about differences in a bill. I don't want to talk about how we're going to destroy people's lives to benefit others. And that's where we're at right now. Just think on it hardcore. We are going to watch these people pretty much burn the country down for some weird ass vision of the world. The people who have been bought into that gullible shit are going to go for a ride, and the rest of us are going to laugh at them. But we also have to go to an extent. Do you understand why? If they don't understand why, then I'm not done with you. I go, but if you're done with you because you're too deep in the Kool-Aid. But if you look at it and someone goes to you, this happened to me, this happened to me. Yeah, this happened to me too. And I don't want to watch your politics because if it's a personal thing about if it's not complaining or it's about I don't know what to do. Yeah, I had that. What do I do? Who did this to you? They did. Yeah, they did it too. There's a different conversation there. It's not, you know, except it's not what we're hearing right now with the grocery thing where they're trying to justify it because they got conned. But eventually they're going to come to the realization we're all in this together. I mean, and that's that's when the shit starts to change. And I don't know what the reaction is going to be. It might be very, very ugly at that
I think
point.
one of the scary things to corporations and wealthy people was the response to that CEO getting killed because it wasn't partisan. There were Republicans and
Right.
Democrats supporting that, going, yeah, I got fucked by these people too. It's about time we go back on them. One of the problems with doing this, it's not so much a problem with this podcast because I know the kind of people that listen and they're
Mhm.
aware and they understand, but we want to talk about policy. We want to talk about facts and data and all that stuff. And I always thought that was the best way to do it. But after this last election, I've come to the realization that you can talk all the facts and all the truth you want. There's a large percentage of this country that doesn't comprehend it or doesn't
Mhm.
care. And that's troubling. So then you have to play the game kind of like the Republicans, go the tabloid way and just be an asshole like I was with Brian or how I will
Right.
be here on TikTok, just being loud and pointing fingers and pointing blame and doing ridiculous stuff. It sounds immature, but I'm not too proud to be immature. I'm not too proud to piss people off. And maybe that's what we have to do to get people's attention and get them to understand.
Yeah, it's immature. I don't know. What immature is the right word, but I mean, calling someone out for their bullshit is not immature. I mean, again, like when we started this conversation, I brought up the guy talking about Kamala's plan. The first thing out of my life, you're a dumbass, and I
Yeah.
just laid out why you're a dumbass. And the point is, the heart. We're in such a tipping, such a weird ass world because we don't know. I, there's a there's a line from a Doctor Who episode where he's talking about his past and what he's done, and he said, I once went through a world where the laws of physics were designed by a madman. We're about to enter a government where his view is a madman.
Yeah.
He's mad. He is absolutely insane for what he's saying. It's impractical. It's improbable. He's saying this to say it, but part of him believes it's the right thing to do. I mean, you heard some of his interviews, like the one with Kristen Welker. Yeah, I put Travis on, and I stopped wars. When? See, but in his view, he is a madman,
Well, that's the
and I
important thing you got to remember when you're talking about a narcissist. He does believe anything that comes out of his mouth. He thinks it's absolute genius. He thinks he's absolutely right. And that's part of his sickness, that he can't discern what's wrong and what's right. He cannot be wrong. So even when he's wrong, he will double and triple down. And that's where the problem is. I've said this before. There are people, if you've got somebody who's dumb and understands they don't know everything and is willing to learn, they're cool. But if you've got somebody who thinks they're a genius and still behaves and doesn't care about learning, he thinks he's a genius, but he's not a genius. That is the most dangerous person in the world. And Donald Trump happens to be that motherfucking person.
and he's a product of the media.
He's a
This
product
is
of abusive parenting, and this is the end result.
well, not his personality. What I'm saying is, how does someone like that, who's basically in normal life a total asshole and no one wants to be around, get so popular? It's because media sold that as a plus. That
Absolutely.
him being an asshole is a beneficial to him, to you. By him stepping on people to get where he is beneficial. Him ripping people off or not paying his bills, it's a good thing because he's a powerful man. Media sold that to these people. And of course, add in the education point where you don't have any critical thinking, you can't look at it and go, that doesn't make sense. He sold it. I mean, let's honest. He sold that motherfucker. He sold it. He sold it all to everyone. Most of us didn't buy it. I'm sorry, some of us didn't buy it, but the majority did at this point. And so the rest of us have to sit there and go, what do we? There's no way to do this in a normal way to get back to where we
No,
were, because
no.
Congress is the the three branches of government are tainted by cowards, tainted by power hungry people, tainted by racists, misogynists. And then it comes back to, so who do we turn to? We turn to nobody. We have to turn to ourselves and figure out what's the best way to deal with this and see how far it's going to go. Because I'm honestly thinking that the first time someone shows up to start taking away immigrants, it's going to be ugly. And I'm hoping that something is so brutally ugly that the majority of people go, "Oh, wait, I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah,
I
there's
did
going to be
not sign up for
sacrifices.
that." You know,
There's
I
going to be
mean,
people that are sacrificed, and that's unfortunate, but that's apparently what it's going to take. You know, we talked about the media, and this is what frustrates me about the media. The media could have handled this very easily and saved us from all this, but they specifically chose not to fix their bottom line. I keep going back to this, not because I'm necessarily proud of it, because I thought it was an illustration that I hope people get. When I talk to Brian, people will say to you, destroyed this guy. Now, the fact of the matter is, me or somebody like me could do the very same thing to Donald Trump
oh
if you
yeah,
had the balls to do it, if you had the compunction to do it, but they didn't do it. You could put me in a room right now with Donald Trump, and I could do something similar to him that I did with Brian Wallenberg. And it's not because I'm a fucking genius. It's just that
Mhm.
I understand who he is. I know what his game is, and I know how to push him and corner him.
Right.
Somebody should have done that. And everybody, every motherfucking one of them chose not to for their own bottom line. They said, country be damned, democracy be damned. We're going to let him run roughshod.
And the clown show at the time paid money.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: the clown show isn't working now. It's not
No.
paying you money. Let's talk about the mass media. The mass media is not getting anything out of this. They're not. They are getting hammered. Newspapers too, the regular mass media. No one's watching it because the thing about it, I think you made a point of whether to bring it up. Media went from journalism to entertainment.
Tabloid. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, a tabloid entertainment. I mean, there was a place for the National Enquirer years ago. Sure, it was cute, but it wasn't journalism.
No.
Journalists, where it's kind of weird to listen to an old radio show the other day, and then CBS News is talking about we are the home at Edward R. Murrow. Yeah, you were. You
No,
were a
were.
home of a lot of journalists. Cronkite, Rather, the original 60 Minutes, which wasn't an entertainment show, it was a fucking journalist show. I mean, the joke was with Morty, if Morty Safer's banging on your door, you're fucked. But it's not like that anymore. That's all part of the entertainment factor. Um, and as one person said, when news went to a 24-hour cycle, they had to fill in the 24 hours.
Right.
News was better when it was at first, I think it was 15 minutes on a night. Then it became a half hour. But when it became this ongoing, never stop thing, that's where we're at. And did Fox News said it? Yeah, but the other stations, instead of going being a counter to it, adopted the same thing and became no better than them. They
Let me
really
just say
didn't.
this. My mom used to get the National Enquirer and the Star and all those fucking things, and
They're
most of
fun.
it was in bullshit. But I got to
Right.
admit that Bat Boy story that had some validity.
Yes,
I
of
was
course.
behind that motherfucker all the
Yeah,
way.
right.
But here's the deal: when you're in the media and you have a program that isn't getting ratings anymore, that you're losing money, what happens?
They
They
cancel
cancel
you.
them. They cancel that motherfucker. And so you have to wonder if that's what the media will do in this case when they're no longer making the money off of Donald Trump and the bullshit circuits he has. I will tell you what, if I was in the media right now, seeing what's happening to my ratings, I would flip it around. I
Yeah,
would flip it around and start going after that motherfucker
because
and
that's
see what
because
happens.
and take it to the problem is they're afraid that then the new administration would attack you, put you in jail. But see, the thing about it is, journalists have been doing that for centuries.
Yeah.
How many journalists have died trying to fight governments? I mean, fascist governments, or just trying to expose stuff. I mean, but they're not there anymore because they don't have the courage. Courage would have been for the next day after the election to go, okay, you guys have made your choice, but we're going to show you why your choice was wrong. And we're not going to accept a lot of things he's going to do.
Yeah.
And that's all that had to do instead of worrying about, oh shit, now he's president. How do we protect ourselves? You don't protect yourself. You're a fucking journalist. Your job is to go out there and start poking at things, sometimes at the risk of your life and or risk of your reputation if you do it right. They didn't. They went the easiest way. They went the
Yeah.
way of how do we placate the new powers? And I know their corporate masters were doing that too because they're trying to get in with Trump. That's the other problem is when news is done for profit, this is what you get.
Here's the
So,
thing about the billionaire people, though.
mm,
The billionaire people are very transactional. They only care about making money. If Donald Trump isn't making them money anymore, they'll cast him aside. They'll do whatever they have to do. They'll change it up. Now, by the time they do that, it will be too late because they will have lost everything and they're going to have to rebuild. But here's the thing people are afraid of Donald Trump attacking them. if you've got 3 or 4 networks all attacking Donald Trump, how are you going to take them all down? You can't. Just overwhelm the motherfucker with information, and guys like that will then become victims, and they'll cry
Right.
and whine, and then you got them.
Yeah, and it. I see. That's why the social media news is so big, because they really just put it out there. Can those if Trump goes all the way, can those guys end up in jail? Probably. Can we? Probably. I mean, worst case scenario, but I'll guarantee you it. You're next. I mean, becoming becoming Pravda is not a solution to journalism. And to
No
those who don't know who Pravda is, that was that during the Soviet Union news agency that just
propaganda.
propagandas everything that came from the Soviet Union. Um, so, I mean, it's now Russian TV, but I use the word Pravda because that's what it is. They have propaganda. They are, as one person put it, and I think someone was talking about how the mass media looks at Trump's cabinet picks in the United States as opposed to overseas. Overseas talk about them being incompetent and not knowing what they're doing. They're described as in the American press as close allies, not not who they are or what they've done and what they're going to do. No, they're close allies. So already they're greasing the wheels to get these people um, through the Senate. Now, if it happens, it happens. Can't stop it. That's constitutional. Um, and we just have to watch the motherfucker burn. I
Yeah.
mean, and then we just have to hope it's not as bad as it could be. That maybe someone will have some sanity. Maybe a court will have some sanity. Maybe the Supreme Court will realize, it's a bit much. But I'll tell you one thing he's not going to do. He's not getting rid of the 14th Amendment with a stroke of a pen on the
No.
20th of January.
A
That
lot of
ain't
people
fucking
think he
happening.
can, but he can't.
Who thinks that? I
I've
mean,
had people
I can't see it. You can't get rid of an amendment with an
I've
executive
had
order.
I've had people come to me and say, "Well, he'll just take it to the Supreme Court." No, bitch. The Supreme Court does not make laws. They dictate what the laws say, but an amendment is a much different thing. You can't go to the Supreme Court and overturn the 14th Amendment, but some
No,
people think they can because of how many times Donald Trump's gone to the Supreme Court and got away with something. They think that he can affect the Constitution. And I don't give a fuck who Donald Trump is or who the Supreme Court is. Changing an amendment. I was alive the whole time when they're trying to do the ERA,
it never
Equal
happened.
Rights Amendment, and it never happened.
I mean,
And it was for a good fucking amendment.
but that was the beginning of that whole, political correctness, which became woke and all that. I mean, that was the beginning of that movement, and the propaganda against what that would be. Now, I always thought the irony of the ERA goes, well, women will be in the military. What's going to be in combat? Happened anyway, dumbasses. It
Yeah,
happened anyway. And that's the thing. We, the hardest thing we're going to face right now is this unbelievable choice to move backwards in century. Science becomes a joke. I mean, I'm reading articles left and right about bird flu, birds dropping dead in Missouri, dropping dead in Montana, dropping dead in California. The bird flu is starting to spread. If it gets into chickens, oh yeah, what about the price of that, guys? Enjoy that shit. But if it crosses over, then what? Who's in charge? Robert F. Kennedy?
yeah,
I mean, I don't. These people's choices. It's just like it's not even funny. It's scary. I mean, how the hell? What is he going to do? I mean, every time he talks, it's just mush.
yeah,
He has no concepts. And like, I guess the new CDC guy is a anti-vaxxer too. I mean, it's all insane. And that's the thing. Um, I've said it from day one. Donald Trump is the Antichrist. Let's talk about Christianity here. So you made a good point about fake Christians, false Christians.
Yeah.
Um, they're not Christians. They just, if you've read some of the Book of Revelation, they basically have just bought into the Antichrist. They have the mark of the beast on their forehead. It's just a red hat with 4 letters
Yeah.
instead of 3 numbers.
Right.
They have rejected everything that Christ stood for and what he believes in. Fuck, when a preacher goes, does a sermon about does a homily or sermon on the mount, and people come to you and go, "Hey, that's kind of woke. That's the words of Jesus. What's wrong?" But in the Book of Revelations, once they accept the Antichrist, which they kind of have, the plagues come. The 4
Yeah.
horsemen of the fucking apocalypse come. Death, pestilence. I mean, and I don't want to go really weird ass religion, but God, guys, you have to look at it. I mean, this is starting to come back. And if he gets his wish of getting rid of all vaccines, the bet's off.
Yeah.
I mean, again, sometimes listening to the past is a good thing. Listening to old time radio, and they had a public service announcement. It was 1958, and they said that reminding everyone to get their polio vaccine. 93% of Americans haven't got their polio vaccine. You need to get this. One of the greatest inventions. That was
Right.
1958, and polio has been gone. You don't want that again. But
No.
see, the rejection of science is another sign of how far we've gone. The rejection of experts in science. Oh, by the way, to Joe Biden, please give Dr. Fauci a pardon because they're coming for him.
Yeah.
They will do that. And that's the thing, Mike. We have these discussions. We've had these discussions for God, for months.
Long time.
Hopeful discussions that people would do the right thing. They didn't. We got kicked in the balls. Now we're sitting here going, what's left? What's left is basically, man, we told you there's smoke. Now there's fire. And you guys either are going to figure out to protect yourself from the fire, or you're going to run to the fire.
Right.
And a lot of them are going to run to the fire because they think that's going to protect them. I mean, hopefulness is within who you are and what you got. Enjoy your family. Enjoy what you got right now. Because I do not know what's going to be in a year. What's going to be in 3 months. How far they're going to go. How far do they want to play chicken with the American people? How far are they going to say, hey, sure, Canada, shut off the oil and the gas. Don't worry, Minnesota, you'll figure it out. You'll be cool. We're doing this to make a point. All right. Don't
Yeah.
worry about
Yeah.
it's -4 degrees. You're fine. Tough it out. How'd your ancestors do it? I mean,
Yeah.
don't be surprised that that's their view. I mean, why are we going to war in Mexico? Why is my son dead in a desert outside of Sonora? Oh, because we're trying to do the right thing to stop drugs by taking over Mexico.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think
why?
if they shut off the oil here, I'm going to the rich parts of towns and stay warm by burning mansions and eating the food and ultimately the millionaires and billionaires
I
because
mean,
that's what
it's
they're
just,
asking for.
I mean, that's the thing. They may do it thinking that we won't do anything about it. I mean, and again, you push people so far when they got nothing, then it's over. Then all bets are off. The civility is over. They keep talking about, well, we're a civil society. We really haven't been a civil society for a while. We haven't.
No,
Any society that accepts school shootings like we have, it's not a civil society.
absolutely not.
Sorry. And so to talk about, people talking about, well, there'll be violence if they could, and say, well, that's not civil. No, guys, you push people that far, they got nothing to lose. Who gives a shit? I mean, I, I wish, people watch this or they come to us and they say, what do you think? I don't. because I don't know. I mean, I've tried to. One of the reasons that I really have disconnected is, dude, I have nightmares. I have fucking nightmares about the worst case scenario. I read too much science fiction and dystopian fiction in all my life, and I laughed at it, thinking, "Oh God, that could never happen here. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous."
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's here. It's arrived, and it's and I'm looking at it and go, all the things that could happen. I mean, even to me, I mean, my job could be no one can buy insurance, so I'll be out of a job, can't keep my house. I have my pension. What if they bankrupt the Teamsters pension and I got nothing? What if there's not enough food out there, even though you have money? Inflation goes up thousands of percent, so your dollar is worthless. I mean, this is what happens when when you think,
Yeah.
and it gives you nightmares. Sometimes I thought the other day, God, I wish I was dumb. I wish I was a dumb MAGA fuck, because then I can say, thank you, Trump, save me from this. I'll be okay. I'll eat the dirt for you. Because I mean, people going, you ask me why? Man, that's stressful because I can see it. I can do the extrapolations. It's scary as fuck what
The
could
ruling
happen.
class, the wealthy, the corporations. I heard somebody gave me a quote one time, and I think they just made it up. It didn't come from anywhere specifically, but I was talking to a guy who was in kind of dire straits. He was kind of locked down. He was in trouble financially in all kinds of situations, and he was kind of freaking out. And he just looked at me and he says, I said, well, I'll help you any way I can, and he looked at me and he goes, I don't need your help, because just remember this: when you got nothing to lose, you can afford to be crazy. And that's what CEOs have to, because they've got no options. And that's what people have to understand when we see the CEO shooting, or people struggling or suffering or not having heat or not having this stuff. When people have nothing to lose, they're going to get crazy. And this is what I said about Donald Trump winning the election. I'm more concerned about violence if he won. And now we're seeing how that could possibly be true. I mean, if you're sitting at home and you have two kids and they're cold and they're hungry, you'll do pretty much anything to protect them.
There's a old movie. I mean, the one thing I love about my mom, she watched a lot of old movies. I sat with her. She was a big Paul Muni fan, but like Humphrey Bogart, a lot of movies. There was an early Humphrey Bogart movie, and this was set like mid depression. So this guy finally got a job. He's been working for a job. He got a job. Finally got a job. His wife just had a kid. He got a job. He's going to the job and he's running a little late. So he's going a little fast and he gets stopped by a cop. And he tells the cop, look, I can't be late. Just give me a break here. He writes him up. By the time the guy gets to work, they tear up his card and fire him. They give the
Right.
job to somewhere else. In his desperation, he robs a store and ends up going to jail. The cop, it's kind of weird. It was kind of a weird thing that probably wouldn't happen today. His sergeant, when he finds out about it, his sergeant looked at him and said, "You did what? Did he give you the story?" Yeah, yeah, but I was following the law. His sergeant sentenced him to literally to walk the beat where the guy lived. He basically did not like what he did. He says you have no empathy. And the ironic thing about it is that he runs across that guy's wife, who is struggling as hell to get through it. And through in that neighborhood, he grows up to learn how to help these people out. And the irony thing about it is the great thing about that movie at the end, when the guy gets out of jail and he's going home, everyone says, "Hey, so and so is looking for you." The cop, so and so is looking for you, and he's scared. He thinks this guy's out to get him. All right, he's gonna get him. He wants to talk to you. So he's so desperate, he gets a gun again. And when the guy shows up to talk to him, he shoots him. Okay, so now he's in a world of shit. So the cops, like in the hospital, and the sergeant's going, hey, he shot you. Just tell us that he did it, and we'll put him away forever. And he looks at me and he goes, "No, my gun accidentally went off." And he cut the dude
Wow.
a break. And I remember that story because the humanity is gone from a lot of stuff. I remember the movie because it was so different in that time period where someone actually, his boss said, you need to learn a lesson because you were wrong. You were right, but you were wrong. And then he learned how to be merciful.
Yeah.
We're not merciful anymore. We don't care. We want to get ours. I mean, you evangelicals don't care about what Jesus taught you. Welcome the stranger, feed the hungry, take care of the poor, look out for each other. It's all some weird ass performative act, and you're
Well,
making money off it, which is
there's a lot of
sickening.
lessons that have to be learned, and people are going to have to learn it the hard way. But you have to understand the lessons we've already learned are by way of the wealthy, that you have no options, you have no chance. You just have to bow to these wealthy people. That's the lesson we've learned. And now, when they go too far, we've got to learn some other lessons, and they need to learn some other lessons. Unfortunately, where it's brought us because of their greed and their persistence to oppress us, it's going to get violent. It's going to get ugly, and it's unfortunate, but that's not on us. That's on the
Yeah,
people who pushed it too far.
and I'm worried about like literally breaking the country because like
Yeah.
California is really ready. They are expecting a lot of stuff and the laws in a lot of these states, and I don't know what's going to happen because again, playing chicken. What are you going to
Yeah.
do? I mean, maybe we'll just send the military to take over Sacramento. How's that going to sit with people? I mean, I find it hard to believe that Californians are going to go, even the Sacramento Valley, go, oh hell no, get out of here, and that's where we're at. So for all you guys, the reason that we really hate you MAGA people at this point, you put us in this situation. There, you had something nice. It could have been better, but
Yeah.
you decided that you bought into some kind of weird fantasy that doesn't exist, and now we're all going to pay the price. And the thing about it is that you've cost me a lot of fucking sleep, you dumb motherfuckers, because I don't, I hate having to. This sounds bad. I hate having to care so much. I
Yeah.
hate having to think that I that I thought this was going to be a turning point, and it did the wrong way. I hate to think what it could affect my family and my kids. I hate to think that I'm at the mercy of someone else's decisions because somebody else decided that they wanted eggs to be $5 a carton or $2 a carton.
Yeah.
And when you come to us complaining or come to us like trying to gaslight us saying, well, that's not what he meant, we're not going to be happy with you and we don't care because we know what's coming. And then the only way, I guess, the only way you guys are going to learn is that if the fire's up and we're all going to get burned, we're all going to burn together and see who survives.
Yeah.
And I don't like that idea. I don't like thinking like that because it's going to be painful. And what do we do? I don't know. I mean, I think we're doing right now is what we have to do is just call it out, shout and scream, tell our political leaders to knock your shit off and do something right. But if it gets to the point you have to do what you got to do, you do what you got to do. And that's another scary fucking thought in the
It's a
end.
scary situation, sure, for sure. Well,
I mean,
we're,
everyone, Merry Christmas, everyone.
happy
Happy
motherfucking New Year.
holidays.
I'm gonna
Um,
make I'm gonna make a prediction, Will, and
yes.
I'll base this on history.
Mhm.
Will says he's going to be off for 2 weeks, and then next week something fucked up's going to go on. He goes, "Fuck it, Mike, I got to talk about
Oh,
this."
I mean, if it's something like weird and egregious, I don't think I think it's going to be a lot of the same political bullshit because they can't
Yeah.
do anything. They really can't. I mean, President Biden is about to veto a bill where Republicans decided that we need 66 more federal judges. Really? You mean like the 66 he just approved? You're looking for to put him in the bench so Trump can match what he did? He's going to
Yeah.
veto that. That'll show up. So they're going to try their shit. And honestly, I'll make my comments when I'm looking at the videos, but I'll tell you this. if you voted Republican in any state and shit is happening, shut up. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear complaining. I don't want to hear like North Carolina. Yeah, you guys are protesting now, but you put those motherfuckers in office. I don't want to hear about gerrymandering. Shut up. You put them originally in the office where you're at. Because my sympathy for you at this point is nil.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this here because you made a choice. You chose some weird ass fantasy of life that's going to cost people their lives and already have, and
Yeah.
women especially. You get this from me because honestly, the majority of you people don't give a fuck about me. Honestly, you think I belong in a internment camp
Right.
anyway. So let's just put it on the table. Also, so all the black creators and everyone, look, guys, I get it. You're bitch and you're bitter about what happens, but for fuck's sake, to turn around and go, this is all the Mexicans' fault. I heard the creator today. No, it's everyone's fault. We all got into this mess. We all expected something that didn't happen. But to turn around and go, yeah, we did our job, but you Mexicans didn't, tells me right there what you think what's going to happen if something turns bad for immigration.
Well, let me just
That
say
was
this:
that upset
seven.
me a lot.
You can blame the Mexicans for this, but 70% of white men voted for Donald Trump. It might be the far left that's involved, but I think when it comes down to it, the bottom line is the people we can blame are the racist and the sexist. I think they had
Exactly.
the biggest impact on this election. And because she was a woman and because she was black, that was the problem even some Democrats had with it. And fuck
It,
you all.
it was still close. Let's all be honest. It
Yeah.
was still close.
Well, Brian
Even in
said it was a
states,
landslide.
no,
Brian said it
well,
was a landslide.
electorally, yeah. But if
No,
you
it
look at the
wasn't even a
numbers between state, it wasn't even that close. It was
Did you did
close.
you did you hear what I said to Brian? Brian said, "Well, what about the electoral vote?" I said, "Well, let's look at the electoral vote. 312 to whatever it was for her. Joe had 306. So did Joe have a landslide in 2020, or is it just Donald with
Yeah,
312? Because it's about
it,
the same thing."
it's about the same. And also tossing in those who thought they could be morally high ground from everyone who didn't show up to vote. Or and oh, by the way, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to hear a lot of shit. Another creator comes out, why are people why they're talking about the CEO and that, and they put up a thing about Gaza. They killed 60 Israelis killed 66 Gazans. My thinking was, if you had voted for Kamala Harris, Netanyahu wouldn't have done that because he knows if he did it, he would get fucked.
Yeah,
That there would have been pressure on him not to do it. But because either you voted for Trump or voted for Jill Stein, he does not care. And he's going to kill everyone he wants because who's going to call him on it?
right.
So don't put those things up and don't ask for sympathy because you guys did it to yourself. That's a
The
hard.
the,
I'm sorry that my empathy for that goes away
the
because you
problem
had an
I
opportunity to end that.
the problem I have is that when it comes to the Palestinians, the innocent Palestinians in Gaza, my vote for Kamala Harris was doing the best I could to protect
Yes.
them. The people who voted against Kamala Harris or didn't vote at all, you're the ones that are complicit with whatever's going to come, those 66 and whatever else is going to come.
Yeah.
You far left people who were trying to teach Joe a lesson, the blood is on your hands and you fucking deserve it. And I'll never let you forget it.
No, and I can't. And I look at it. And I want to. I get your point. I want to say, yeah, you're right, but you're not, because that would not have happened. It wouldn't have happened. He would have, at that point, Netanyahu probably would have to go to the negotiation table. He probably would have sued for peace because he knows he's fucked.
Yeah.
He knew he would be fucked. He knows no one's going to help him. And the ironic thing, as we bring this to a close about international, do you know why the Syrian rebels won that? Pushed out? Because all of a sudden they pushed out Assad. They had
Yeah.
Ukrainian help.
Yeah.
They had help from Ukrainian advisors to how to beat the Russians and Assad. It's like the Ukrainians decide they're going to fuck with Russia everyone they can, because all of a sudden that came out of nowhere. And I read that, yeah, they had Ukrainian help to push through to take care of to get to Damascus and topple the Assad regime.
Right.
Because the Ukrainians said, you know what? Here's the thing: what they're doing. They say they know that once Trump comes in, he's going to do his thing. Even NATO. I think the good thing that about NATO with what Joe Biden did is that NATO is standing there going, yeah, he rebuilt it to the point that they don't need the United States.
Right.
If he pulls that plug, they're already said, yeah, we're ready. They're going to stand up. They're going to stand for everyone. Because when you get two new members like Finland and Sweden sitting on the Russian border, that means something. They're going to stand for the vision. They've already said that. Your Britain has already said, no, if you go after Europe and EU trade, we're not supporting you. I mean, and Trump turned around, we'll just, tariff on Britain. The world is preparing to be without us. Look at that.
Yeah.
We have always been, the world is getting prepared to be without us. And the thing about it is that Putin thought that's going to help him out. What he's finding out is the Ukrainians are pushing him in many places he thought he didn't want. That if they do go to the negotiation table, he's got nothing to negotiate. He's
Yeah.
screwed. And that's the thing. The biggest fear we had, how's it going to affect the world? The world economy might get fucked because
Yeah.
of what Trump's doing. But as when it comes to security of the world is getting ready to say the United States is not part of the world right now. We cannot
Right.
count on them. We have to fear them. They might be a problem for us. If I'm in Taiwan, I'd be extremely concerned because the Chinese are making the rare earth thing is not just about tariffs. It's about affecting the U.S. military and a warning because Joe Biden has been sending carrier groups into the South China Sea for the last month or so to mess with the Chinese because they've been rattling. The rare earth was a warning that invasion is coming. And they know Trump is going to do shit about it. He
Yeah.
won't. I mean, what is it? President Lee is, he's a strong man. He controls billions of people. So to the Taiwanese, he don't give a fuck. I
Yeah.
mean, the world is getting ready for a world without the United States. And the other thing that's worrisome, this whole Bitcoin thing. I mean, with Musk and all these idiots, Peter Thiel, they're coming up with an idea of replacing the Federal Reserve with Bitcoin Reserve. And the thing about it is, when you talk about oil, oil is, well, there was a time when someone talked about not talk about oil in dollars and some other currency. And that got stepped on because the dollar is the biggest, it's the most stable currency.
Right.
But if you take away that stable currency and you replace it with some kind of weird ass computer shit that some whacked out billionaire came up with, then that's going to basically could pull the structure out from oil business.
Right.
Without the dollar being the strongest, what are they going to do? I mean, these are again this is what happens when you read too much or know how things are connected. It scares the fuck out of you. Because then if your dollar's worthless, there'll be, I never forgot in history class, talked about the hyperinflation during the Kaiser Germany, Weimar Germany after the war, World War One. Guys coming up with hyperinflation, coming out with a wheelbarrow of money to buy a loaf of bread.
Right.
That's scary. And it could
Yeah.
happen here with these idiots in charge.
Yeah.
So again,
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas. I mean, guys, this discussion was basically kind of look at what you have. Look at the best way to protect what you have. Um, don't let someone tell you you can't have it, and just, I mean, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, which might
It's
be the best way to look at it right now.
it's going to be rough, but we will survive. And I don't think it'll be as bad as what I mean. Everybody's worries about the
Oh, I hope not.
uncertainty. I just, maybe I'm just too Pollyanna about it, but I know what Donald Trump has done in his first term, and he didn't accomplish much because he's a fucking incompetent idiot, and the people around him are even more incompetent. They may be evil, but they don't know what they're doing. So we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, I'm hoping for extreme incompetency to isn't kind of sad. You're hoping that it's basically like a bad villain character from Austin Powers is what
yeah,
we're hoping for. That they're so incompetent that they trip on their own tail. I mean, I guess I guess for me, it's just been hard to watch my country go down this path. I thought we were better than this.
it is.
I
But we can't whine and cry about what's already happened. We've got to
No, we
focus
can't.
on the future and have some positivity about what's in front of us. It may be rough times, it may be
Yeah,
hard times. We will survive, and ultimately we will come out the other end. So we
yeah.
got to start working on it now.
I mean, the best thing is going to be to watch MAGA do their flips. The occultist. They're already doing it now with the grocery thing. That's hilarious. I saw someone say, "No, he didn't say that. No, he didn't say groceries are going to go down. No, 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 he
I
didn't.
did.
Don't 1980 for me. I saw that." He goes, "When did he say that? He never said that. No, he did say it. No, he didn't. Okay, you go do your thing." And maybe that's the small joy we'll get is that for once, unlike 2016, when a lot of us innocents burned from his incompetency, and MAGA kind of got through it, we're all going to burn. And then we're going to see what comes out in the end. Hopefully, your beliefs and your stupidity will be washed out of you, and you can join the rest of humanity. And
Yeah.
that's a hope and a wish. But y'all, look, be happy, enjoy your family, and enjoy the holiday seasons. It's still worth something. Um, and then come January after January 2nd, we'll see what happens. Then
Yeah.
we turn to what the future is and what the paths are, and be prepared to tell a lot of people on the left and the right, oh no, fuck you, you're part of them. Because it's going to come down to who's got the money.
Yeah.
Follow the money, because the money is what's going to drive this right now. And to be honest, I'm finding the one thing that I still find it hard to believe is for them to put a budget in front of Congress with a small 219 Republican majority with no Social Security, no Medicare, and no veteran benefits, and say this is a good thing.
Yeah.
I really want to see that get through Congress, because if it gets through Congress, then I know we're fucked.
Yeah.
But I find that hard to believe that there's some people, some congressmen have to talk to their constituency. Why does my mom not have her Social Security check?
Yeah. It's not going to pass through
Yeah,
Congress.
and
It
that's
can't.
where.
It can't.
So there's the hope there, guys. So do me a favor, for the rest of us, if you have Zoloft, take it, relax, enjoy it. Eat a lot of stuff you shouldn't eat this holiday. I'm gonna enjoy a little bit because then I got to see the doctor in January about getting ready to fight whatever my diabetic condition is. My God, I'm not looking forward to that. Um, and the thing about it is, in the end, and I appreciate everyone who has listened to the videos, that's interacted with me. I really appreciate it because I think we're all in this together. We all know who we're fighting. And I think if we keep an eye on the prize, we should come through it all right. It's
I think
okay
so.
to have nightmares, but how you deal with it afterwards is the biggest thing.
Don't be
And
afraid. Be pissed off. That's what
yeah,
you
well, I
need to
mean,
do.
fear is a good thing, but don't be fear and frozen. Be fear and move forward.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's the one thing about they said. I think someone said that in Band of Brothers. You're scared, yeah, but you're moving forward. If you weren't scared, you're insane.
Right.
And so it's okay to be afraid. But how do you deal with the fear and all that is the
Make
issue.
sure you check out Will on YouTube and on TikTok. It's Binder 38
No,
US.
Binder, Binder, 38 US at YouTube and at TikTok. I have a Blue Sky account for what it is. I haven't figured out how to use that other than the only a minute videos. So that's much you can do there.
Here's
Spit
what
on
I do.
that.
Here's what I do to avoid that. I got tired of trying to do a minute. I just copy the link from YouTube and post that.
Yeah.
That way you get all the time you need.
So if you do it from YouTube, it goes more than a minute
Well,
from Blue
whatever.
Sky.
Yeah, as long as you're not uploading it to Blue Sky, you can go as long as you want from a link. All of my stuff from YouTube. I would post a minute, and it was a pain. Then
Mhm.
then I went to YouTube, check share, copy the link, put it in Blue Sky, and then it
Oh,
brings
okay.
up the
Copy the
YouTube.
link. Okay, I
Yeah,
got you. Copy the link, and then people can open it up in Blue Sky. Um, and as for yeah, just here's the thing. I hope everyone is thinking, oh God, what a downer. You know, I'm sorry, guys, but hey, we'll get through this. I think right now it's kind of like we're going through a bad marriage with the United States right now with the other fellow Americans,
yeah.
and we need. And one side doesn't want to go to group therapy or counselors therapy. So what we have to do is hang in there, and once they hit rock bottom, then we can drag them to counselors therapy and see what happens. So,
Well, Will has said he's going to take a couple of weeks off, so we'll
mm.
talk to you next week, Will. Uh,
You're, I love you, Mike. Thank you for that. We'll see how it goes. We're going food shopping and for Christmas, so I don't know, but we'll see. But I appreciate your faith in me. Thank you, sir.
No problem. No
All
problem.
right.
Those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. Hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.